Welcome to the deep dive. We're doing something really fascinating today. We're diving deep into the world of gut bacteria.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah. You know, all those trillions of tiny organisms that they live inside us right now.
Right.
We'll be using a recent Korean research report called, and I'm going to try to say this right, Gut Health and Recent Research Trends.
Wow.
It's going to be, I think, pretty amazing what we find out about these little guys.
It is amazing how much we're finding out about them and the impact they have on our health.
Like everything.
Right, like everything.
From how well we digest to like our mood, maybe even how well we perform athletically.
Wow. Yeah.
So the report uses the term microbiome, which sounds, I don't know, kind of complicated.
Right.
But the way I think about it is like your gut is this like bustling city, you know?
Okay.
And the microbiome is all the different, I guess, communities that live and work together in that city.
A city of microbes. And just like in any city, there's a lot of diversity.
Oh, for sure.
So we're talking about bacteria, viruses, fungi, the whole ecosystem. But I think the stars of the show are really the bacteria.
Okay, so who are the key players we should know?
Well, the report mentions bacteroidetes and firmicutes. Those are the most abundant types.
Ah.
But, there are so many others, too.
Right.
It's really like having all these different neighborhoods within our gut city,
Right.
each with their own kind of specialty.
I like that.
For example, bifidobacterium. They're like the neighborhood watch, always keeping your immune system strong, ready to fight off any bad guys that come along.
That's so important, especially now, during cold and flu season.
Right, exactly.
What about some of the other residents that we should know about?
Well, there's lactobacillus. You might recognize that one.
Oh, yeah, from yogurt commercials, right?
Exactly. And they're really great at breaking down lactose.
Oh, so helpful if you're lactose intolerant.
Yeah, very helpful. And, they also give a little boost to your immune system.
So they're kind of like the friendly neighbors
Okay.
that always bring over a casserole when you're not feeling well.
I like that analogy. It's good. And then there's bacteroids. They're like the master chefs of the gut.
Oh, nice.
Helping us to digest those complex carbs.
Right.
And, even creating essential vitamins.
Like which ones?
B vitamins and vitamin K.
Wow, it's pretty impressive. Like they're doing so much to keep us healthy.
They really are. And, what's even more fascinating is that how your gut microbiome is actually made up can be categorized into different enterotypes, which are kind of like, I guess you could think of them as different city layouts.
Okay.
Depending on which types of bacteria are most dominant.
So it's like, some cities have more parks.
Right.
And others have like skyscrapers, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And you know what? These enterotypes aren't set in stone. They can actually change over time based on things like, your diet, your genes, and even the environment that you're in.
So it's kind of like a dynamic, constantly evolving city.
Precisely.
That's responding to the changes around it.
Yeah. And understanding all these, these individual variations, it's a big part of what makes gut health research so exciting right now.
Oh, I bet.
It's like opening up this whole new world of personalized medicine.
Yeah, it makes sense. So the report points out, 4 key functions of gut bacteria that are essential for our well-being, but rather than, just listing them out.
Right.
Can you break them down and explain, why they matter so much for us?
Okay, sure. Let's start with nutrient absorption and metabolism.
Okay.
These little guys, they are crucial for breaking down the complex carbs in our food.
Right.
That, our bodies have trouble with on their own.
Wow.
And this process, it creates short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, and those are a key energy source for our cells.
So they're like fuel for our bodies.
Exactly.
So they're basically helping us get the most out of what we eat.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Okay, so what else?
Well, they also help synthesize those essential vitamins we talked about earlier, like B and K.
Right.
And even play a role in metabolizing things like bile acids and cholesterol, which are important for digestion and overall health.
Oh, they really are multitasking.
Yeah.
What's the second thing then?
Okay, next up we have immune system modulation.
Yeah.
And this is where gut bacteria really act like trainers for our immune cells.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're teaching them how to recognize and fight off the harmful invaders like viruses and bacteria.
So a healthy gut microbiome is like having a well-trained army.
Exactly.
Ready to defend our bodies.
Right. And, it's not just about fighting off the bad guys. Gut bacteria also help keep the peace within the immune system.
Okay.
It prevents it from overreacting and causing too much inflammation.
Right, which is so important for, preventing those chronic diseases.
Exactly.
Staying healthy long term.
Yes.
Okay, now this next one I'm really interested in. The gut-brain connection.
Yeah.
What's the latest on that?
This is where it gets really fascinating. So the report, it refers to it as the microbiota gut-brain axis.
Okay.
And it highlights this two-way communication highway that exists between your gut and your brain.
Wait, hold on. So our gut is like actually talking to our brain.
In a way, yes. Gut bacteria can actually produce neurotransmitters.
Wow.
Those chemical messengers that influence our mood and our stress levels, even our cognitive function.
So that means the gut microbiome is having like a real impact on how we think and feel every single day.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, and lastly, the report mentions, gut bacteria's role in keeping a healthy gut environment.
Right.
So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Think of it this way. These helpful bacteria, they're like the maintenance crew of your gut city. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. They regulate the pH levels, make sure it's not too acidic or too alkaline. They protect the lining of your gut, which is, delicate. And they prevent the overgrowth of harmful bacteria.
So they're like keeping the bad neighborhoods from taking over.
Exactly. They really do seem to do it all.
They do. But what happens when things go wrong? Like, what happens if there's an imbalance in this community? That's what we're going to explore next time when we come back.
So, we were talking about what happens when things get a little out of whack.
Right.
This balance in the gut gets disrupted.
Right.
It's, what scientists call dysbiosis.
Dysbiosis, okay. What kind of impact does that have on, our health?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. And in some cases, a little alarming.
Okay.
The report, it connects gut dysbiosis to a whole bunch of health issues. Everything from, like the obvious gastrointestinal problems.
To things that maybe aren't as obvious, like mental health and metabolic disorders.
Okay, let's break that down a little bit more. Let's start with the gut-related issues.
Yeah.
What kinds of problems are we talking about there?
Probably the most common ones you hear about are irritable bowel syndrome,
Okay.
IBS,
Right.
and inflammatory bowel disease.
IBD.
Yeah, IBD. Millions of people deal with those conditions, and researchers are finding that gut dysbiosis can be a big factor.
So, like, if someone's having chronic digestive issues, it really could be their gut bacteria.
Yeah.
That's a contributing factor.
Could be. Definitely something to look into. The report actually mentions specifically Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Those are forms of IBD as examples where gut bacteria are being studied, really closely.
Now, you mentioned a link between gut bacteria and mental health.
Yeah.
That's not something you hear every day. What's the connection there?
I know, it might sound surprising, but remember that gut-brain connection we talked about?
Right, yeah.
Well, more and more research is showing that imbalances in gut bacteria can have an impact on things like mood, anxiety, and it could even, potentially contribute to some more serious mental health conditions.
Like what kinds of conditions?
Well, things like autism spectrum disorders and even dementia.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So really, taking care of our gut health could actually lead to, some positive effects on our mental well-being too.
It seems that way.
Wow.
There's a lot more research that needs to be done, but the early findings are pretty exciting. It really highlights how interconnected our bodies are.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And what about those metabolic disorders that you mentioned? How do gut bacteria play into those?
Well, conditions like obesity and diabetes, they're increasingly being linked to gut dysbiosis. Research suggests that the types of bacteria in our gut can really influence how we process food, how much energy we store, even how our body responds to insulin.
It's really unbelievable how much this little world inside us, how much of an impact it has. It's almost, I don't know, it's a little intimidating.
I can see why you'd say that. But the good news is the report gives us some practical strategies for how to cultivate a healthy gut.
Okay, good. Let's talk about that. What can we do to actually improve our gut health?
Well, a lot of it comes down to what we eat. The report really emphasizes a diet rich in fiber. Think of fiber as food for your beneficial bacteria.
Okay, so like what kinds of food should we be eating more of?
Fruits, vegetables, whole grains.
Right. The usual suspects.
Exactly. All excellent sources of fiber. And they provide that nourishment your gut bacteria need to thrive.
Got it. More fruits, veggies, and whole grains. Check.
There you go. Fermented foods are another good option.
Okay.
They're kind of like probiotic powerhouses.
Right.
They're introducing those beneficial bacteria directly into your gut. The report mentions kimchi, yogurt, and a traditional Korean soybean paste. It's called jjigae.
Have you ever tried that?
I haven't. Kimchi and yogurt, I'm familiar with those, but I'm gonna have to find some and try it. Are there things that we should avoid or limit?
Yeah, there are definitely some dietary villains when it comes to gut health.
Like what?
Well, processed foods, for example.
Oh, yeah.
They tend to be low in fiber and high in all sorts of ingredients that can disrupt the balance.
Right. No surprise there. Anything else?
Too much sugar is another big one. Too much sugar can fuel the growth of the harmful bacteria.
Okay, so processed foods, excess sugar. What else?
Unhealthy fats and too much salt. We all know those are bad for us.
Right.
And that includes our gut.
Okay, so processed foods, excess sugar, unhealthy fats, too much salt. I'm writing all this down.
Good.
Okay.
It's interesting. The report also highlights the benefits of polyphenols. They're found in foods like green tea.
Research suggests they can promote the growth of those good bacteria, even enhance the diversity.
Oh, wow. So just enjoying a cup of green tea can be good for my gut. Okay, I like these tips.
Right.
This is good.
It's all about making small changes.
Right.
Sustainable changes.
Yeah. Now, what about protein? It's so important for a healthy diet, but I've heard mixed things about its impact on gut bacteria. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not that protein is inherently bad for you.
Okay.
But the report does mention that, excessive protein, particularly from animal sources, can sometimes mess things up a little bit.
So moderation is key.
Moderation is always key.
As with most things in life.
Exactly. Now let's talk about probiotics and prebiotics.
Okay, yeah. They're everywhere these days, right?
Right.
Supplements, yogurt. I've even seen them in granola bars.
I know. It's hard to keep track.
It is. Can you clear up the confusion?
Sure. So probiotics are the actual live bacteria, the good guys. Think of them as reinforcements for your gut army.
Okay.
You can get them from those fermented foods we talked about or from supplements.
Got it. And prebiotics?
Prebiotics, they're like the food that nourishes the good bacteria.
Okay.
They help them to, thrive and multiply. You can find those naturally in things like onions, garlic, bananas.
Oh, okay.
Asparagus.
So it's like a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly.
You need both the players and the fuel.
Yes.
To keep things running smoothly in our gut city.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about food, Lifestyle factors play a big role, too.
Yeah, I imagine stress has a big impact.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Chronic stress can really mess with your gut bacteria. The report also emphasizes sleep.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Staying hydrated and mindful eating habits.
Mindful eating. So that's like what? Slowing down, chewing our food thoroughly, paying attention to our hunger cues.
Exactly. All those things can really make a difference in how your body, digests food and uses those nutrients.
Now, what about exercise? Does that impact our gut bacteria at all?
It absolutely does. The report actually highlights the role of exercise in boosting the good bacteria. Research suggests that working out regularly can increase something called butyrate.
Butyrate, wasn't that one of the substances produced by the helpful bacteria?
Yes, that's right. So exercise helps, it helps those bacteria grow.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. So it's like a win-win situation. Do the type of exercise matter?
That's a great question, and one that researchers are, still figuring out.
Okay.
But the report does mention one really interesting fact. Only about half of our gut bacteria seem to be affected by exercise.
Wow, only half. So there are obviously other factors at play here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Your diet, your overall health, even your genes, it all plays a role.
This is also fascinating. It's like we're really just starting to understand this whole complex world inside of us.
Yeah, it really is.
It's amazing.
And that's what makes this research so exciting. The more we learn, the more we realize, how much potential there is for changing how we think about health and well-being. Speaking of scientific breakthroughs, the report also talks about some really cutting-edge research and how it's being applied in the real world.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
So we were talking about some really cool stuff like scientists actually being able to not just analyze the gut microbiome, but actually change it to treat and prevent disease. Pretty amazing.
It is. It's, it's called microbiome modulation.
Microbiome modulation. Okay.
And it involves using things like, probiotics and prebiotics, even something like fecal microbiota transplantation.
Hold on, what? Fecal microbiota transplantation or FMT?
FMT. It involves, transferring fecal matter from a healthy person to someone who's got an imbalance.
Okay. I know that might sound,
a little unusual.
A little unusual, yeah. But so you're basically like giving someone a gut makeover.
Yeah, kind of.
Using someone else's healthy bacteria.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's wild. What kind of conditions can it help with?
Well, one of the most successful uses has been in treating C. difficile infection. It's this really nasty bacterial infection that can cause severe diarrhea. It's also showing some promise for other conditions like inflammatory bowel diseases.
So it really could be like a game changer for people who are dealing with that.
It could be, yeah.
What other cool things are coming up in the world of gut health? What else is on the horizon?
Well, one area that's really taking off is personalized gut management.
Personalized gut management.
Yeah, imagine like getting your gut microbiome analyzed, and then you get like personalized recommendations for diet, lifestyle changes, maybe even like specific supplements just for you.
So it's like a custom blueprint.
Yeah.
For optimizing your gut health. Is that something that's available now?
It's still pretty early, but the research is moving fast. We're already seeing companies offering microbiome analysis.
Okay.
And, as the science gets better, I think we can expect to see a lot more of these personalized solutions.
Yeah. The report also talked about research on elite athletes and, how their gut microbiome might be, helping them perform better. Is there anything to that?
Yeah, there's a lot of interest in that connection. Researchers are trying to find, certain bacteria that might contribute to things like endurance, muscle recovery, even mental focus.
So are we talking like probiotic cocktails?
Maybe.
Designed to boost athletic performance?
If possible.
That'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
And all this is happening because of new technology, right?
Yeah.
Scientists can actually identify and quantify all these bacteria in our gut.
Right.
Like with amazing precision, using these really high-tech methods.
Yeah, like next-generation sequencing.
Next-generation sequencing.
It's pretty incredible.
So we can actually, like, map out this whole invisible world inside of us.
Yeah, we can.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And with all this new knowledge, I mean, obviously there's a huge opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
The report mentioned this booming microbiome industry and, like, these estimates that it's going to just explode in the next few years.
It's a big business now. Gut health.
Yeah. What are some of the key things that are, like, driving that growth?
Well, we're seeing tons of new research and development of these microbiome-based therapies.
Okay.
Not just for gut problems,
Right.
For all kinds of diseases. The market for probiotics and prebiotics is growing like crazy. And there's this huge demand for microbiome analysis.
It sounds like this is really, transforming everything.
It is.
From healthcare to, like, what we see in the grocery store.
Yeah, it's changing everything. And it's not just companies, We're seeing more investment and research funding from governments.
Oh, wow.
All over the world.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, they're realizing the potential of microbiome research to, like, change how we think about health.
Wow. This has been an amazing journey. We've learned so much about this amazing world of gut bacteria.
It's been fun.
I know. From, like, the different communities that live inside of us to, like, all the different ways they affect our health.
Right.
And we've only just, like, scratched the surface.
We've just started.
I know. It's amazing how fast the research is moving.
It is.
I'm so excited to see what happens next in this field.
Me too.
What are you, like, personally, most excited about?
Well, I think the potential for personalized medicine is huge. Imagine, being able to find like specific imbalances in your gut and then get like targeted treatments or dietary recommendations just for you. It could totally change how we deal with chronic diseases.
Yeah, that's a future I'm really excited about too. And, for me, I'm also really fascinated by the gut-brain connection.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And all this new research that's showing how, our gut can affect how we think and feel. It's fascinating.
It is. If we can figure out how to take care of our gut, it could have a huge impact on our health. both, physically and mentally.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great way to end this. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the world of gut bacteria.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you learned something new, and maybe you're, as excited about the future of gut health as we are.
I hope so.
And remember, taking care of your gut, it's not just a trend. It's really an essential part of taking care of yourself.